name's Emily. I'm a nutrition educator at Second Harvest, and I'm here to share some quick food waste prevention tips that will help you cut back on your food waste at home. This is a problem that is important to our community, and together we can make a difference. Second Harvest and the City of Spokane are working to address the growing problem of food waste in our community. Eastern Washington is leading the state in the amount of food we're throwing in the trash. Taking steps to prevent food waste saves money, conserves resources, and has the power to feed people rather than disposal facilities. Second Harvest is teaming up with the City of Spokane to share simple steps you can take to reduce food waste in your home. This is a problem our community cares about, and together we can make a difference. You might think that things like onion peels and carrot tops have no use other than to go in the garbage, but you can actually save them in your freezer and make your own vegetable broth at home. So I have my bag of veggie scraps that I've kept in the freezer. I'm gonna go ahead and put those into a soup pot. You can use any kinds of vegetable scraps. I have some nice mushroom stems, some onion peels, pieces of carrots, pieces of celery. Things like onions and garlic really help to add flavor and color to the broth. I'm going to just cover my vegetables with some cold water. Once I have everything covered, I'm going to just add a splash of white vinegar. You can use whatever vinegar you have. The vinegar is really important. It helps to draw the nutrients out of the vegetables and into your broth. I'm gonna just go ahead and cover that, turn my stove on, and let that come to a boil. And once it's boiled, I will just let that keep boiling, let all that flavor pull into my broth for roughly about 2 hours, and then I'll come back and strain them. Now that our vegetable broth has been boiling and we've seen a nice color change in our broth, it's time to go ahead and strain things. But real quick, I just wanted to share some of the real benefits of making your own vegetable broth at home. First of all, you have complete control over the flavor of the broth. The types of vegetables that you put in might change the flavor, so this is a great opportunity for you to use some creativity and spend some time experimenting on what you like and what you don't like. You also have complete control over the sodium content of the broth, so if you are somebody who is concerned about your sodium content, this might be a great way for you to continue to enjoy delicious vegetable broth in your soups and in whatever you want to use it for without having to go out of your way to look for the low sodium versions or something like that. But it's time to go ahead and strain. So I'm going to go ahead and just pour my broth directly into another pot. And then all of these vegetable scraps and any other kitchen scraps you might have, you can put directly into your green bin or backyard compost bin to be composted. There is our delicious, beautiful vegetable broth. Unfortunately, up to 35% of all food produced is thrown away rather than eaten. Reducing food waste saves money. A family of 4 can save on average $1,500 annually. We all know how frustrating it is to buy fresh produce at the grocery store, and then by the time we go to reach for it in our fridge, our berries are covered in mold. So this is a very simple step that you can incorporate into your grocery routine that will work for any and all fruits and vegetables, all produce, and will help preserve their shelf life. So I've got some beautiful fresh strawberries today, and I am going to put them in my vinegar bath to preserve them. So I have my bowl of cold water, and you just need to add about a cup or a cup and a half of white vinegar. I like to do my berries in a strainer already so that I don't have to struggle to take them out later. So I'll just go ahead and pour a few berries into my strainer and then submerge them in the water. If you notice any moldy berries, go ahead and remove them before you do your vinegar bath so they don't contaminate the rest of your food. And we'll just let those soak for about 5 to 10 minutes. and then rinse them under cold water, and be sure to let your fruit and vegetables dry before you put them in the fridge. So I find it's helpful to put berries out on a baking sheet lined with paper towels to make sure that they dry before I put them in a bowl and store them in the fridge. Now that I've had my berries soaking in their vinegar bath, I'm going to go ahead and rinse them. And then I am going to go ahead and place them in a lined pan to dry. It's lined with a paper towel, and I'll just try to spread the berries out as best as I can and leave them for maybe 20 minutes or so, just to make sure that everything's nice and dry before I put them in a bowl or a bag or however I'd like to store them. You might have heard before that you shouldn't store your potatoes next to your onions in your pantry, but you might not know the reason why. This is because certain produce items like potatoes produce something called ethylene gas, which causes other produce items like onions to ripen more quickly. So it's important to store any gas producers away from any gas-sensitive items. There are some things like apples and avocados and bananas, just for an example, that are both sensitive to gas and produce gas. So it's important to not store these things in airtight containers, as that will cause them to ripen faster. If you're ever wondering if a certain item is a gas producer or gas sensitive, just a quick Google search should tell you that information right away. And this does apply to fruits and vegetables, both stored in your pantry and in your refrigerator. So if you're storing things in a vegetable drawer, it's important, again, to not be combining these gas producers and these gas-sensitive items in order to make sure that we're preserving our food for as long as possible. By reducing the amount of food in our waste stream, we can conserve precious land, water, energy, and resources. Much of the food that is currently being thrown away has the potential to feed hungry people in our community. Let's work together to reduce food waste. The first place that we can actually reduce our food waste is in the grocery store before we even bring our food home. Making a shopping list before you go to the grocery store might seem like way too easy, but it can actually have a huge impact on the amount of food that you're throwing away. If you try your best to stick to your shopping list, you're less likely to buy extra food that you might not use. It's also good to be cautious of any buy one, get one free deals or anything of that nature, anything that's trying to entice you to buy more food than you might have initially been planning. Those deals can be great for saving money, but they don't actually save you money in the long run if you end up throwing that food away before you're able to use it. Keeping a log of the food that you're throwing away in your house can actually show you the problem areas that you might be facing. So if you record the types of food and the amount that you're throwing away on a regular basis, you might start to notice patterns and then notice the things that you might need to purchase less of or purchase more frequently or find different ways to store so that you're not throwing them away. Meal prepping can not only save you time during the week, but it can also really help cut back on food waste. There are two really good styles of meal prepping that I really like. One is to plan exactly what meals you're gonna make on what days and buy the ingredients for those meals. I really like to try to use recipes as often as possible when I'm shopping with this method because it helps me to make sure that I'm buying the exact amount of the ingredient that I need for that recipe and not more that I'll end up having to find another use for or potentially throw in the trash. There's also a mix and match method where you might pick maybe 3 or 4 types of grains for the week, maybe 3 or 4 types of proteins, 5 or 6 types of vegetables, and then kind of mix and match those throughout the week. This can be really helpful if you get burnt out really easily eating leftovers and want to have more variety. Also, if you like cooking at the end of the day, but maybe don't like cooking for an hour and a half, this can be a great way for you to use a little bit of creativity and combine your ingredients together, but not have to take a bunch of extra time out of your schedule and it can also be a great way to cut back on food waste. If your schedule allows, it can be really helpful to try to break your grocery trips up and go to the store more often and shop for smaller quantities. So if you are trying to shop for groceries at a month at a time, it can be really difficult to purchase ingredients that are actually going to last for that entire month. And you might find that things are only going to last for a week or two. So it can be really helpful to shop for a week at a time, or even if you're able, 3 to 4 days at a time. That gives you the best chance at making sure that the food that you're purchasing is going to still be fresh and its best quality by the time that you eat it. If you're interested in learning more tips on reducing your food waste at home, we host regular free food waste reduction classes here at the kitchen at Second Harvest, and you can find more information about those on our website at secondharvestkitchen.org.